welcome to Week in Review. I want to talk about leadership because it's in the news. Donald Trump and this guy and what's going on and this party and this. You know what? Eldon Trueblood, he was a man of God, and I have a book by him called Humor of Christ. And he said that youth they always need, he said, a preferable vision of greatness. A preferable vision of greatness to inspire young people. And you know what we want to do is hold up godly heroes and leaders. I have gone through 2 times, and I'm about to go a 3rd time. Mr. Bill O'Reilly did a best-selling audiobook and book, New York Times, 25 weeks, called Confronting the Presidents. And I'll tell you, it's just fantastic. I highly recommend it. Father's Day's coming, go for it. But you know what? I listened to a man of God, Dr. Al Mohler, at Louisville Southern Baptist Seminary, and I listened to his lectures, 10 consequential leaders. I'd like to give you, who do you think are probably the most consequential leaders in world history? Let me run through these, and I like it. I tweaked it a little bit my own way, but you'd say, Larry, who would there be? Well, I'll tell you, number 1 in the Bible, Moses. When you study the life of Moses, whoo, my heavens, Moses, people confronting him, and he's saying, this people, Lord, help. But he led them out, and he led them in. Moses was a leader, and when you study his life, it will inspire you. He'd be the first one, and just go to the Bible to be inspired by what, and yet he was a flawed man as well. Number 2, I would say David, King David. I've been to Israel a number of times, you go to the city of David. What is it? Jerusalem. But David was a leader. He had his flaws, but he knew how to lead, seek God, and the people, they loved him and followed him. David was a consequential leader in his day. Number 3, the Apostle Paul. Paul was an apostle. He was, breathing out threatenings and murderings. Oh, I can't stand these Christians. I'll get them all killed. And then he heard from heaven, and God plucked him providentially. And Paul, half the New Testament, when you look at the epistles and what he did with Timothy and Titus and his interaction with, Peter. I mean, Paul was one of the greatest leaders of all time, consequential. Number 4, I think I would give you, in American history, George Washington, our first president. I mean, when I listened to Confronting the Presidents by Bill O'Reilly, there were all kinds of interesting things. But imagine the Revolutionary War is over, and what are we going to do? What do we do with a capital? What do we do? We have a residence. And this man, inspired by his life, he was a model of humility and courage. He is one of the greatest leaders, consequential leaders in world history. That's why our first president, and I lived in the Washington, D.C. area, and we named the capital after him. All right, let me give you another one. Consequential leader. Number 5, I would say, is this. My hero, Abraham Lincoln. Now, he paid with his life. But imagine what he had to deal with in coming into leadership and having the North and the South and the fight over slavery. And eventually John Wilkes Booth shot him. But this was a man who studied Scripture. His mom only lived, I think the first was 6 or 9 years, but she shaped this man. And when you read his writings, you go to D.C. and you see the Lincoln Memorial and read what he wrote. He was so anointed and so brilliant, and he had a task. That's why most historians say the most influential, consequential, greatest president in America's history was who? Abraham Lincoln. All right, let me give you a few more. How about this one? This is one of my heroes, Winston Churchill. Oh, never give up, never give up. That guy came on the scene, and when people were saying, oh man, peace in our time, and Hitler's on the scene, and all that. But you know what, Winston Churchill, I have a book on him, that when he was a young man, he knew that God had a destiny for him. A man in England, Bryn Jones, told me that when he was going to be brought into the prime minister, he opened his Bible one day, and when he opened, it said, who knows if you've come into the kingdom for a time such as this. Winston Churchill, probably the greatest leader of the 20th century. He brought America in. He went with other leaders, and we defeated Nazism and Japan as they tried to take the world, and Mussolini. All right, quickly, let me give you the other ones. Number 7, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You say, Larry, that's a Democrat. Yeah, he's not on Mount Rushmore because Well, you know, what he did in internment, he got about 120,000 of Japanese. He put them in internment camps. Plus, there was a lot of immorality. He didn't care for Eleanor. And so even when he died, and I've been to Warm Springs or in Georgia, I've been in the room where he had a stroke and he died. I looked at the bed. But he hung out in an immoral way with a particular woman. But he was a great leader. He was the only president that, was brought into 4 terms. All right, let me give you the last one. Number 8, and this is a negative, Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was an orator. He was diabolically inspired, but he literally was changing the world in his day, and he had to be stopped. So he is one of the most consequential leaders of all time. Then I'd say this. The last ones I would add to this would be my hero also, Ronald Reagan. I almost came close to his house when I was out in California. But that man, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. He fought communism. He stood up to leftists, socialists, the Democrats. He's ruining our economy. He turned everything around. He was a leader, a brilliant man. He was shot, but he came back. Ronald Reagan. I have a wonderful picture, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but it was autographed by Ronald Reagan. And he was truly a giant, a consequential president, probably one of our greatest. And then the last one, it still has to be, shown, but I believe Donald Trump. What he's doing, what he's done with the blitzkrieg, executive orders, shut the border. He's going over there, Saudi Arabia, $1.2 trillion, and then $1 trillion a year. He's taking risks with terror. I could go through 30 or 40 things that he's done in such a short, minuscule time, but I believe he's going to be seen as one of the most consequential presidents in America's history. We need heroes, and I encourage you, study the lives, teach your children. These are great leaders, with the exception of Adolf.
Hey friends, if you felt this video was helpful, make sure you like and subscribe so you get notified once new videos become available. Thanks.